this is very significant about Hebrew, that whenever there is a new question, no situation, the language is not prepared for it. And this is of course, it is a new problem, the hyphenation of Hebrew. It is a result of the papers, of the newspaper, which you have to do things in extraction as far as possible. Don't waste any blank. But I must tell you that in ancient times, we find in original sources that there was no problem like that. When they finished the space, then they went on to the next line with nothing, no hyphen, no end of the word, nothing like that. They just put it in there. But in between, let's say between 1000 before until recently, no problem like that. They did everything by hand and hyphenation or middle of hyphenation. The problem didn't arise. Now, what I've done is just to check what is going in Hebrew now, and I can give you some results about it. And first of all, there is one thing. If you move very close to the end and you have only one letter, then you don't transfer it, because if you transfer one letter, you have to put an hyphen. Now, if there is a space for hyphen, there is a space for the letter. So never one letter to the next line. That's of course.
So what happens to that last letter if there's no space for it?
Pardon?
So what happens if there is no space and there is one letter left?
Then they put two last letters. They put two letters to be transferred with a hyphen, which you lose one space, but it's not too much. It's a must. You can't do any other. Now, usually you know that hyphening in Latin script is usually done, as far as I know, by the diversion of the syllables. One syllable should go together. You don't cut a syllable in between. It is not so.
No, it depends on the language. For example, if you take American English, it's done grammatically. If you take British English, it's done phonetically. So it really. But for example, you have connecting, you will cut connect and then ing.
Yes.
And of course, this ing.
Not the T.
Yes, but in British English, you would cut connecting.
Yeah. Well, perhaps too much grammar. So. Well, anyway, the natural way, let's say in Europe, in Italian, as I know, is according to the syllable. Now, if you try to do it in Hebrew, it is impossible to us, because you don't want to do it. If you do it manually, suppose you can do it, because the how you call it, the printer, not the writer, but well, if he knows enough, then he can know what he's reading, and the whole syllable at the end and the next syllable there. But if you speak about automatic device, it is impossible, because you have a lot of words which you don't know how to read them. They can be read in several ways, and I give you one example, which is, let's write. What are the syllables here?
Mem, Tafresh, the Gemelach.
All right. This means metargen, but maybe it is mitragen. Mitragen.
Mitragen.
Mitragen.
Okay, but see, here's the thing. I didn't even know that there's a word mitzvah. Yeah, okay. So, for me, yeah, tell me my word. Yeah.
Just one case. Yes, please.
I know that in Arabic there is a software, a vocalizer, which puts vocal inside words out of the context. Could we write a similar program for Hebrew? A program which will put the vowels in unvowelized
Arabic
words?
also, you have to know what is the meaning of the word
Yes.
and how it relates to the context.
Yes.
It means it is manually done. Because if not, there are a lot of words which look exactly the same. They are read both in Hebrew and in Arabic.
But out of the context, you always know the precise meaning.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you
but
cannot read.
Out of the context, it is nonsense if you use this interpretation, not that. So you just rule out several interpretations until you come to the right one. But if you want to do it automatically, then it means that you have to check syntactically and semantically the text, which I don't believe you do now.
I don't believe
It can be done.
it's not
It has been done for Arabic. Why should
we
it?
try to do for you to do this?
Listen, I think it is possible, but it is not practically to do it.
Do it for a spell checker, for example.
For what?
For a spell checker, a program which checks and finds orthographic
See,
errors.
all spellers in Hebrew, Czech spellers in Hebrew, do not pay attention to syntax or to semantics, and it comes a lot. There are a lot of mistakes because of it, because there are many ways to write something, and if you change one letter, it still is another word. Now, if it is a word and it is found somewhere, then it doesn't have any sign that there is a mistake, but still it is a mistake. So the speller in Hebrew is also a problem.
Spellers, as far as I found out, no speller in no language finds out. If for instance, you wrote head, H-E-A-D, in English, instead of head, H-A-D,
Yes, I agree.
no speller will find this either. So, I don't think there has been written any speller.
It will
which
be
will
next
find
generation
information on
speller
this.
that is trying to learn the internal structure of the
No,
But it's-
in fact, you just get a good paper and you make the point. But vocalization is not with but that the vowel should be in the input, even if they're not being printed.
Yes, this is, for instance, what I would have suggested as a solution. I would have suggested, for instance, that no, we don't truly need to hyphenate all that often. What would be, for instance, possible would be to require that if the author wishes his document to be hyphenated, he should insert vowels into the text with some sort of encoding, which shouldn't necessarily be printed, but it will enable the software to distinguish between the syllables.
I don't think anybody would do it. It would be very slow to write. If you don't do it, nobody will take the time.
full of mistakes. Probably.
Now, usually now authors write in the same computer, and there are no vowels over there. But if you have, if there is, this is the place where to give suggestions. I have another one, but okay, just write it.
I think the discussion. Let's finish your talk before.
Listen, we should see what is the situation. And this is what I'm going to tell you. Now, this is the problem. What I wanted to make a point is that there is no way to automatically divide between syllables in Hebrew. I can give you
Unvowelized.
Pardon?
Unvowelized.
Of course.
Of course.
The other one is
It's mostly scholar.
No, all what I do is to take examples from the papers. Now, if you look, this is instead of putting it another way, I put it this way. You see that now, what I wanted to show here is that all of them are open syllables, and it seems that this is all right because it is prachim, hazikaron, the Ornan, Achrayut, open syllables at the end of the line, and it's all right. Ha'agadit, optimit, Vemesimatam, Ke'evim, Hosafa. Now the same happens when you have closed syllable. I mean a syllable which ends with a consonant, like here. Alterman, החבר'ה או החברה, לעצמה. You see, every the syllable is closed. The last item here is a consonant, and that's it. הרגשתם, אמבטיה, להפגיש, ישראל, בביטחון. It's very important. Then I put the yeshiva here that you know it is not bitachon. You will find bitachon in another occasion. Takbir, that's all right. Now the same happens even when the grammar doesn't say that it is an open or a closed syllable, but it is so to say a schwa, which means that it really, or practically, it should be connected with the next syllable, not with the other one. But still, it is the same thing. Mesochachim. Well, here, this is related to this one. I mean, a grammatical division will be mesochachim. But it is not here. And also, when you talk, when you speak, you listen, you take it for a true syllable, even though the grammar doesn't consider it the same. Mishehuch nesui. Well, it should be, the nun should come with the silent, but still it is not. So, the problem of syllables, the syllabification, what we have seen before, doesn't apply. Hame'af sherot. Ha-amiti, which is Chataf Patach. The same thing, Ha-chadashim, He'eleti, Ha-kvutza. It relates to another section also. The Anglit. Well, the Gimel should be considered part of it. Also, grammatical way, but not quite not on the speech. According to the grammar, the yod should relate to this syllable, ha-yeta, but it doesn't mean anything to the spoken language. Omrim, which is considered to be all merim, doesn't apply. Another section of which relates to grammar, which is false here, vechim'at. Well, this is shua, which can be considered part of it, since ve, chi are just particles, and the word itself is me'at. So it is reasonable that you put the particles apart, and the word in connection. It is much better for the eye, for the understanding, but it is not. Most cases it is not. They don't pay attention to it, even though this part I'll come again to it. Bishvili, which, well, this is one word. Uleitim. Here it's all right because this is the word and this is the particle. But you see, there is no, they don't pay attention to it, whether it is particle or non-particle. Usually. Yeah.
Those are those examples that you have found in books?
Yeah, in papers, newspapers. In Yediot Ahronot, and
Do you consider all of those examples to be good examples?
Well, this is the found examples. Let's say about them later. All right? This is what we find.
When you do about syllable that cloud, because you have a consonant with a dejection there which is double.
You will see that here. Next item. Habitachon. Now, I've shown you before, Bitchon Hamedina, Bitchon, Atet relates to this place. But here, It seems to be an open syllable, but it is not. This is exactly what that says, because there is germination here in the tet. It should have been a bit tachon. Suppose if it was written as Italian in Latin characters, then there will be one tet here and one tet here. Of course, and this would be very nice to see. The milim, the same thing, all of them. There is the gesh chazak, double letter here, this one, but it relates only to this one. Leistakel, lechama, ita, likulam, limed, mechapsim, ve'ikev, hashidur, yemune, all of them, it should be germinated here. It is not germinated according to the Hebrew writing system. You know it from the grammar, but you don't see it.
Well, I would have guessed that in the case of the diverse letter, that you were about to put the letter twice.
What?
Put the letter twice.
But most
What
people
letter
don't even
twice?
know that the people that
Listen.
the letter is the gesh. Most of the people don't even know where to place the gesh.
Listen, just a minute, please. You can't too fast. Let's see what happens, and later you give the suggestion, all right? You see, but there a whole section of it, and it is usually this letter comes on the next line, except some, for example, here hakvutza. This is also germinated, but it is here, which I don't think this was the reason for that or not, but it is here. Now, this is a special thing, hachayim. I should tell you that there is well, let's say rule or habit in Hebrew. When you have too many yods or too many vavs, just erase one of them. This is what they do. It should have been 3 yod here, because this is the first one, this is the second one, and should be a vowel yod. But there is no 3 of them, but only 2. So this is, I don't know what it is. Whether it is the germinated yod, which comes twice, once here and once here, as you will prefer, or it is this one is the germinated one, and this is the vowel. You can't tell it from the Hebrew. I can show you that there is no point to think on the situation, the existing situation for this simplification. See here, Bemilchemet. It's very clear that in the middle of the syllable, one relates to this place and one here. Why? If you do it in according to the syllables, it should be, the lamed should be here. Bemilchemet. Lara mat kal. Mat is one syllable. Ha mem shala. Ve a have no. You see, it is not, the simplification doesn't play any part in it. Ve achshav, if shar no. Va bursa. Va bursa.
But these examples those examples you're now showing truly don't sound right.
So,
but these examples, for instance, truly don't seem right to me, for instance.
all right. Well, let's see it. You can talk about it, and you can wonder whether it is a good way or not. But this is the way they do. I didn't pick up just things that I wanted to pick up. This is everything.
Yes, I know.
Minhal. Now look at the word minhal. Mesabsebet. Milliard. How you can explain it? Lefir onan. Shebank. Now this is one syllable. Mr. Greenberg. Now, how you could
Yeah,
write
but
this
yeah,
way?
but these look like they're not following the rule of Britain at the table.
Of course not. This is what I say. The syllabification doesn't play any part in the hyphening of Hebrew. Renaissance. Well, this is something very clear. The krata, the krat, the aleph does.
Well,
It relates to it.
okay, look, I mean, you can find newspapers, you can find all kinds of situations where people
Well, I must tell you,
violate the rule just because,
Danny, I don't know too much about English and about some English papers, of course. I
no,
don't.
but what I'm saying is, the fact that you see something in the newspaper doesn't mean that it is according to the rule.
Of course not. But you don't find any paper that do it according to any rules. There are rules. I will tell you what are the rules that they do it here. But
Oh, it is.
they are not linguistic rules, nor phonemic rules, nor morphologic rules. It's quite different. I'll tell you in a minute. Well, now suppose you find these words. What would you think about them? Well, it occurs that they are at the end of the line. Maybe למנהגי, לירוש, יווני, ובעור, יחזקו, אילתר, אופטי, פוליטי, סובל, הצב, internationally, הצילו. Now what? The writing is not of that. למנהגיהם, בירושלים, יווניות, ובעורמה, not connected at all to the separate words that you can see here. See? סובל, no, סובלנות, פוליטי, no, פוליטיקאי. אינטר, no, אינטרס, אינטרסים. הצילו, הצילומים. No connection at all. So sometimes when I would say this is very bad anyway, for the reader, I think about the reader. He may be he cannot trust what he's looking for. There is one thing which I think can be taken into consideration for automatic operation, and this is when you have one of the letters here which has two forms, one at the end and one at the middle of the word. Now, if you see it not at the Sofit, mem Sofit here, you know that this is a part of a word and not a whole word. Pardon?
Yes, but the
Hyphen itself doesn't
generally also doesn't.
Just a minute. No. Listen, hyphen doesn't mean anything because you use hyphen for other aims also, such as smichut. So it doesn't mean anything.
No, you use it as a dash. You use the same. You use the same glyph, the same drawing, the same drawing thing, both for a hyphen,
Yes.
which is both. Makaf instead, in fact, is both a hyphen and
You
a
mean
dash.
something like that or like that?
Yes, exactly.
Yes, but
They were supposed to look different, but generally they don't.
this is not accepted.
In most systems they don't.
Listen, it is not necessarily accepted in any print. It could be a good idea and then, but I don't know if you gain a real gain because of this difference. Anyway, this is something which suppose you think about automatic, then perhaps, I'm not sure, it can be taken into account. I mean, check whether this last one that is maybe the last letter is one of the 5 letters that is, in this case you can do it.
No, in that case, you explain how you automatically read the text, but you're not speaking about the reading the text, you're speaking about creating the
Creating, I mean creating. It's very easy to do. Now, suppose according to the numeration, you come to the conclusion, I mean, in making it, that this one should be the last letter here in this line. Now you check whether it is one of the 5 letters, and then if it is, you say, okay. If not, take this one to the next line. It can be, I'm not sure, but it can be. There may be some point to think about it. Now I want to tell you that really the rules that work in Hebrew are, I've seen minority groups, so to say, of hyphening after the particle or particles. I think it's very good, but I'm not here to tell you what is good and what is not good. I tell you what is possible or not possible, and unfortunately, it is impossible to put it before them. Let put it like that. We have a particle, this one. Now suppose I say like that. It may be hamorim, it may be himurim. Sometimes they put it without the U. So if you want to do it automatically, it makes a problem because sometimes you may be wrong. Or let's say instead of it, put this one, no problem. It may be shmurim, it may be shemurim. So you don't have automatic possibility to know whether it is a particle or not. Therefore, well, suppose we would do it always. I mean, suppose in the Hebrew language there will be a rule that if you have a particle, divide it by a hyphen from the word after it. I must tell you, I didn't invent this idea. In 1920, there was a publishing house which did it and published. I have seen 3 books, but maybe more than that they did it always, and they said it must be done because suppose the reader doesn't know what is this word. He would go to the dictionary and find out what is shamur, and see what he see is that there is no point in shamur because it doesn't match the context. Now there he must try to do it this way. Now suppose he finds out like this or like this. Now if he doesn't know what is the meaning of this one, he will go straight to the word morim or moed. So this is what they have done. Unfortunately, it's not the accepted way. If you look at the papers, you don't see it. Perhaps also it is a waste of spaces, and they trust the poor readers that they will do the job for what they really had to prepare. I mean,
numbers or English words, and you do use that to separate the string.
Oh, yeah, English.
If you attach a particle to an English word.
Or a number or something.
Yeah, that's right. This way.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I agree with you. This is not better. Sometimes they do. You mean in Hebrew written for English readers? For
No,
tourists?
What we mean is
like this.
what we mean is generally when you put a particle, when you put some English word or a number with a particle in Hebrew, you generally do put a hyphen, but not with the Hebrew.
Also in other places, suppose you have Hebrew books for newcomers or for tourists, then they want to teach you how to pronounce it, they would say She-Morim. So it is much better for the reader. No, she, I know what is She. Now this is another one, Morim. And if it was not written like there, you would think that this is one. It's quite different. But listen, we are not here to give suggestions to the Hebrew readers, writers, or public, the Hebrew public. I wish we could do it. But I tell you that this is a real problem for the Hebrew language, but it is not a problem for the tech programmers. They cannot do it. Yes, please.
Well, actually, we are at this position, not for the whole Hebrew public, but for the Hebrew tech community, since what we are saying here will be published, and it will be the first text really on what to do when we encounter the problem of Hebrew hyphenation. So it would be nice if we had a set of recommendations.
Oh, yes, then please do it, the recommendation.
No, you are the one who to give us.
Well, I do it always, but they don't pay attention.
Yes, but now we will publish it, printed black and white, so they will have better reasons to pay attention on it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I quite agree with you, and I wish we could do it. But what I say, if you want to do it automatically, in the present situation, you cannot trust the particles. It would be very good if you had...
Okay, but I will give you an example. In German, you have composed words. Okay, you have Auflage, Auf and Lage.
Right.
German tech users will put a special mark between Auf and Lage because they don't want to have an FL ligature. And the German tech users group is asking them to do it and giving them the tools. So we could do exactly the same for the Hebrew
I
particles.
agree with you. Well, please do it if you do recommendations. No, I mean if you write something, you prepare something for the public, this will offer a manual for tech, whatever
Yes.
it is, that will be wonderful.
Yes, so I would like to have an exhaustive list of recommendations to give to Hebrew tech users.
Yes. Okay, well, I gave you some material. Anyway, yes, of course. I wanted just one conclusion way. You see, what